Good morning guys and welcome back to the channel. In the beginning of the season I made a video about a new tent that I bought back in beginning of this year, and from which I thought that it might be the dream tent from Ravi and me, because I had some requirements that I would like a tent to have, and I've been searching quite a while to find that perfect tent. And at the beginning of this year I bought the Tarptent Stratospire LI, and in that first video I set it up for the first time, made my first thoughts on it, showed you a little bit around in that tent. I will link to that up here, I believe, or there. I will link to that video so you can look that up as well. And well, the backpacking season is over, the year has passed by, and therefore I would like to do my 1 year long-term review about the Tarptent Stratospire LI. And did this tent become my dream tent? You're going to find out in this video, so stay tuned. So first of all, let's go through the specs that was my requirement for the perfect tent for Ravi and myself. So a dream tent. We were using our big Agnes Tiger Wall tent, perfect fine tent, and it was a great one, not very heavy as well, but I wanted to get rid of tent poles. So first requirement was trekking pole tent. Well, the Tarptent Stratospire LI is a trekking pole tent, so that one could be checked off my list. Second thing was that it had to be a Dyneema tent. I wanted a tent to be super light because I have been struggling with injuries in the past, and therefore I wanted to make my gear list, my loadout, as light as possible. So Dyneema was the best option because that is super lightweight. The big Agnes Tiger Wall weighs a little over 1.3 kilograms. The Tarptent Stratospire LI with the struts, the tent and the dry bag itself weighs 840 grams. So that is a huge improvement in regards to weight. So lightweight, checked. And of course Dyneema as well, but that comes with lightweight because the most lightweight material for tents at the moment is Dyneema. So check, check. And my third requirement, well, that was the toughest one, because that was that it had to be a double wall tent with a solid inner tent. And most of the Dyneema tents, they are single walled, because you can go much lighter on a Dyneema tent than the 840 grams that the Tarptent Stratospire LI is weighing. For example, the ZPEX Duplex or something. But those are single wall tents, and it turned out in my experience, I have tried 2 single wall tents in the past. So I did try the ZPEX Duplex and the Gossamer Gear 2, and both were not great in regards to condensation. The Netherlands is a very wet country, a moist country, humid country, so yeah, that just didn't work out. So it had to be a double wall tent for me, and that was already a struggle. Then I ended up with the Durston X-Smith 2 tent, but that wasn't a Dyneema tent, so the weight wasn't that much of an improvement, and I must say that I didn't like that tent at all. I couldn't get it set up properly, and the inner tent was hanging on my face and everything throughout the whole night. So that wasn't our tent. And then I ended up finding the Tarptent Stratospire LI, and that one is a double wall tent, and you can either choose between this mesh inner and the solid inner. And why did I want a solid inner? Well, first of all, I wanted it to keep the drafts out, because Ravi gets cold very quickly at night in the tent, so I wanted to give him a little bit more protection. And I noticed that when I'm sleeping in a solid inner tent, that he is much more relaxed. When you are having a mesh inner tent, he can see underneath the outer tent, and he can see everybody's passing by, dogs walking by, people walking by, even when my tent is closed. And that made him a little bit more, well, not reactive, but he couldn't settle that well. So therefore it had to be a solid inner tent, and well, the Tarptent Stratospire LI had that option. But then the next thing came up, and that was that this tent is expensive, and I have to import it from the States because you cannot get it here in Europe. And with all the import taxes, fees and everything, it will turn out to be a tent which costs more than 1,000 euros. And I didn't have that at the moment, and I could save up for that, but that was just too much for me. I just didn't want to spend 1,000 euros on a tent. And then it turned out that on a outdoor page or an outdoor forum group, whatever you like to call it, here in the Netherlands, there was a Tarptent Stratospire LI with a solid inner tent for sale. So yeah, I couldn't let that chance go. So I bought that tent, and I paid 400 euros for it. And well, the previous owner said, well, there is one little hole in the floor of the tent, but I patched it, so for the rest it is fine. So when the tent arrived, I put it up, and it turned out that, well, there were pretty some holes on the outer tent as well. And I contacted the seller again, and well, he said that he wasn't aware of that, and he took €100 off the price. So at the end, I got this Tarptent Stratospire LI with my solid inner tent for €300, and I had to do some patching, but not an awful lot of work, and they held up pretty well throughout the season. Nothing came off, so the patches hold up very well. So now I had my top tent for €300. So yeah, I couldn't let go of that chance, so I gave it a shot to see whether this could be our dream tent or not. And although because of the weather this year, a lot of floodings in the beginning of the season, Ravi and I haven't been able to go out backpacking a lot, but we did go out for a few times, and I can say this thing here, it's our dream tent. We found it at the beginning of the year. I said I'm not going to sell my big Agnes Tiger wall. In the meantime, I did, because this tent is perfect for us. As you can see, I did change the package of it, because when you have it in the original package, this tent has some struts on the side, so to keep the sides up, and they have this length. So when you are keeping the tent in an original shape and its original package, then this is the pack size, and this does not fit in your backpack. And that was the only downside of this tent. So if you would like to know, are there any downsides? Yes. If you take the original pack size, that's the downside for me, because I do not like that big of a tent on the top of my backpack. It's just not something that I prefer. So at the end, I decided to take the struts out, sewn a little pouch for that as well. This weighs nothing, and put the tent in a dry bag. And as you can see, pretty small. If you are taking it in the original stuff sack, this is the pack size. So look at the difference. This one fits in my backpack easily, so just on top of it. So it's the first thing I can take out when we are at camp. Last thing I can put back in my backpack when we are leaving the camp. So yeah, this is a great improvement. Do I like it that I have to carry these studs separately? No, I do not, because then I still have to carry some sort of poles, and I want to get rid of that. And before I can set up the tent, I have to fiddle around with getting these in there. It is not a big struggle, but it will take some extra time. So that is the only downside of it, but it was worth for me to being able to put this one in my backpack. And if it turns out next year that, well, maybe it wasn't that big of a deal to have the tent on top of my backpack, I simply put this back in the tent and put it back in the original stuff sack and carry it on top of my pack again. But I think for now that this has my preference. So did I make some modifications on the tent? A few but not very big ones. I changed out the stakes. The stakes that came with it I didn't really like. I changed them out for my Stakes by Ed stakes. They are super lightweight, and I absolutely love those tent stakes. So yeah, that is something that that I changed up. I have added some little magnets to tie out to hold together the inner tent when I have to roll it open, because there is one little elastic, and I do not like that, because you have to use two hands. The outer tent has a magnet, so you easily do it with one hand. The inner tent you have to roll up, and then yeah, you're holding that inner tent, and then you have to make that elastic around, tie it up. So that was not something that I preferred, so I used some magnets for that throughout the season. You can see that in the video that I made about my tent stakes, but I will put a print screen here as well, so you can see which little magnets that I mean. If you are interested as well, they come from AliExpress, so maybe you can check them out as well. And yeah, those are actually the 3 modifications that I did. So the pack size or the stuff sack, the stakes, and a little addition to the inner tent. There was one thing about this tent where I was a little bit hesitant about, and that was setting it up. Because when you are searching on the internet for reviews and well, videos from other people, a lot of people are saying that this tent is a pain in the butt, a true struggle to put up. But to be honest, from the first time I set it up, I don't know where everybody got that from, but it is so simple to set up. It is literally minutes. The inner tent can stay connected to the outer tent, so you're not fiddling around with that. It is just staking out the vestibules first, then you are putting up the tracking poles in there, tying out the guy lines, and you're done. And that is practically it, and it worked a treat from the first time that I did it. What I would like to give you as a tip when you are buying this tent as well, have a look at the instructional video the instruction video on the website from Tarptent how to set it up. I watched it several times before I did it for the first time, and therefore it was super clear. So please do not believe the stories on the internet that this is horrible to set up, because it's not. It is a treat, because it literally costs you minutes. Well, I had my eyes on this tent for so long, but like I said, the price was just too much. And now I had it this year. I am so happy with it. This tent, I love it. I simply love it. It is perfect. It is super spacious. It's a 2-person tent. So Ravi and I have room enough in the tent. First I thought that I was going to offer a lot of room because my Big Agnes tent was a 3-person tent, but turned out that this is super spacious as well. Loads of room for my pack to lay with in the tent. Ravi has room for his own sleeping pad, and Ravi, shoo shoo, come here, kus Ravi. No, he's not coming. So plenty of room. It is very spacious from the inside. Well, the weight is a treat. I don't think that there are any options for a Dyneema 2-person tent with a solar inner tent, double walled, that are coming in lighter than this tent. So I'm going to quit my search or my hunt for the perfect tent, because we have found it. This was my long-term review of the Tarptent Stratospire LI 2-person, double-walled, solid inner tent, Dyneema tent. We're going to use it next year again. We have lots of plans coming up. We're going to make a video about that at the beginning of next year, so that I can give you an idea of what's going to happen next year. A true hike is being planned. Things are about to change. I have to give a little bit of a spoiler alert on that one, but that more about in the video that I'm going to make at the beginning of 2025. And yeah, really looking forward to become better friends with this one. If you like this video, give us a like, subscribe to the channel and notify the alarm bell. And then as always, enjoy the outdoors. We'll catch you on the next trail. Goodbye.